Welcome back, students. Today we are about to read a real life inspirational story of Venkat Singh Shyam, where in his own memoir, Finding My Way, he tells us about his life's journey from his childhood in a very small Indian village to his successful career as a painter, artist, and an entrepreneur in the United States of America. This book, Finding My Way, talks about his struggles, his victories, his triumphs, as he faced a lot of obstacles on his path to success. The co-author of the book, S. Anand, emphasizes on the importance of three qualities that one must have in their life to overcome all the adversities and achieving the goals. That is perseverance, hard work, and a positive attitude in life. Venkat and Anand believe that through perseverance, hard work, and a positive attitude, just as he achieved his path to success, so can we. This book is a testament to the power of determination and the ability of an individual to be able to overcome all the obstacles and circumstances in their life and find their way. So, just like Venkat found his way in life, he inspires the reader through his story to find their way in life. Now, Venkat Shyam is a Gond artist. Gond art is a form of tribal painting which is common in central part of India, and this art was specially brought forward by Jangar Singh, who in the story we'll read about was the real inspiration and the teacher of Venkat. And this art was made even more popular by Jangar's nephew, that is the Venkat Singh Shyam. He himself is a famous Gond artist. In this complete extract from his own autobiography, we will read about his early influences in life and how he was inspired and influenced by things around him that led towards his becoming a successful painter, an artist, as well as an entrepreneur, not just in India, as well as in the United States of America. Now, before we begin with the chapter, let me tell you something about Venkat Shyam. He is a renowned Indian artist who's known for his unique style of painting and artworks, for his vibrant and colorful drawings that depict the traditional tribal life of his native village, his own community. His unique style of art is a blend of the traditional Gond art as well as the modern painting techniques, which over the years he has mastered in. His artworks, if you see clearly, have such beautiful, intricate patterns, bold lines, vivid and bright colors, all of which reflect the rich cultural heritage of his own Gond community. His work is not just visually appealing and stunning, but at the same time also has a compelling story behind it about the people, about the culture of his community, as well as the traditions of rural India. So his artwork is a perfect blend of traditional as well as modern techniques. So let us begin with the story. I did not learn from school and books. I fished in the river Hallen, stole corn cobs, learned to plow, heard the bana. Fishing bring back memories of a story my grandfather Parsadi Lal Uke, who bestowed on me my long-winded name, told me. So, Venkat Shyam here tells us that he did not acquire most of his knowledge from going to school or from reading the books. He actually acquired all the knowledge by doing the practical things in life, such as he went to fish in the river Hallow, he used to steal the corn cobs, he learned how to plow in the fields, and he heard the bana, which is a sort of a violin, and he heard the sound of that violin. And now, when he goes for fishing, during that he is reminded of the memories that his of the story that his grandfather told him. The name of the grandfather is Prasadi Lal Uke, and it is his grandfather who gave him such a long name, Venkat Singh Shyam. So that when he says bestowed on me, basically gave me. So he says that my such a long name that I have, Venkat Singh Shyam, was given by my grandfather Prasadi Lal Uke. And his grandfather told him a story that a dhobi who does his washing in the river also feeds the fish every day. One day, a fish, which seeks to repay his gratitude, tells him about the imminent end of the world. The man wonders how he can save himself and his loved ones, his sister and a rooster. So, the grandfather tells a story that once upon a time there was a dhobi, and every day he used to wash his clothes in the river, and at the same time he also fed the fishes of that river. That fish, as a method of repaying the gratitude, as in saying thanks to the dhobi, tells him a very important information that the world is about to end and that is imminent. Imminent is something which is about to happen very soon. Now, the man, the dhobi, he wonders that if the world is about to end, how can I save myself and my sister and a rooster that I have? So, the fish suggests that he get into a wooden box which it would ferry to safety. After the apocalypse, when God searches for life on earth, he finds the dhobi, his sister, the fish, and the rooster, and the world is remade. So the fish gives a solution that take a wooden box, along with your sister and the rooster, get in the box, and I guarantee that I will take that box to a safe place. I will ferry it, which means I will carry it to safety. Now, when the world actually ends, the apocalypse happens. The apocalypse here means the complete destruction of the world when the world ends. And when God comes to search for any existing remaining sign of life on earth, he finds that box, and there are four things in it: dhobi, the sister, the fish, and the rooster. And using these four things, the world is remade. The significance of telling this story is that in the traditional Gond community, they believe that this is how the world was made, using humans and animals. It was as a child that I had my first encounter with Kabir. His simple language was rather similar to the Gondi Hindi mix we spoke and the Karma songs we sang. So he says that back when he was a child, when he had his first encounter with Kabir, Kabir here is the 15th century poet from India. So he did not actually meet Kabir. Basically, when he read about his songs and his words, so he found that the language of Kabir was quite similar to the Gondi and Hindi mixed language that Venkat himself spoke. And also, the words were very similar to the Karma songs that Venkat had heard in his own community. On winter mornings, a well attired Vasudeva would pass through our village, a picture of grace, dignity, and peace. He held a three-string tambura in one hand, cymbals in the other, and a haunting song on his lips. So he says, again, back in childhood, during the winter mornings, a person who was dressed up like Vasudeva, that is Lord Krishna, would pass through the village singing songs and having musical instrument in both his hands. In one hand, he had a tambura, and in the second hand, he had cymbals. Cymbals in Hindi that we call it as khartal. There are usually two wooden sticks which, when you beat together, produce different kind of beautiful musical sounds, and also a haunting song on his lips. Now, haunting here does not refer to scary. Some haunting here means something so beautiful that it's difficult to get rid of it from your mind. So, the person who used to dress up as Vasudeva and pass through the village, he sang such beautiful songs in such a way that Venkat was mesmerized. And though he was small enough, I did not understand much. I was mesmerized by the music and words, just like I was entranced by the Palash flowers that flaunted their beauty along the Hallan River, which was strewn with massive rocks, perhaps the debris of some prehistoric volcanic ash. Now he says that as I was young, I did not understand the meaning of the words that he spoke, but I loved the music and the words just because of the manner in which he sang the song. Apart from this, he was also captivated and mesmerized by the beauty of the Palash flowers which grew on the edges of the Hallan River, the same river where he went to fish. And along the Hallan River, there were massive rocks. They were very big rocks which seemed like it was the leftover. The debris here means the leftover of some prehistoric volcanic ash. So the rocks and the flowers had such a bright color similar to that of lava. So it looked like that these were the remains of some volcanic eruption. There was also the reticent but resolute kahua tree, hiding its color in its buttressed trunk. Only when scraped did it yield blood red sap that could be used as dye. Apart from the polished flowers and the rocks, there was also another tree which is known as kahua tree, which was reticent but resolute. Now, the word reticent means something that is shy, and resolute here means determined. Now, again, as you can see, that the tree cannot neither be shy nor be determined, but what Venkat here means is that the tree, though on the outside looked as just as an ordinary tree, just like the other trees, which is very shy, but on the inside the tree was determined. Why? Because if you would scrap the trunk of the tree, you would see that it would yield a red color sap, bright red color sap, and that sap could be used as a dye. So it hid that red color inside its buttressed trunk. Buttressed trunk here means a trunk which has roots on all the sides. So on the outside the tree looked very reticent, very shy, just like a normal tree, but on the inside it was hiding a beautiful red colored dye. I began drawing on walls, paper, floors, on whatever surface I could find as a child. I'd look at newspapers and draw film stars. I used charcoal. This was considered inauspicious. My folks believed writing in black increased debts. As you can see, I have come to owe a huge debt to black. Now he says back when I was a child. Now he was not that rich to be able to afford a lot of canvases or painting colors or brushes. So he used whatever source he had. He drew on walls, on paper, on floor, on any surface that he found empty. He started drawing. There were newspapers. He looked at newspapers and there were the pictures of film stars. So as an artist, he needed things to draw. So whenever he got across a newspaper, he took that and started drawing the film stars. Now, here comes the most important thing. He says that I used charcoal. Now, the reason he used charcoal was that charcoal was easily available in the household. But the problem was that using charcoal, since charcoal is black in color, so the color black signifies inauspiciousness, which is जिसको हम हिंदी में अपशगुन बोलते हैं. So whenever he used to draw with charcoal, he was usually scolded by the members of the family because they disliked it. They believed that whenever you write something with black color, it increases debts. It increases the debts that you have, the karza that you have. And now he does a pun here and he says, as you can see, I have come to owe a huge debt to black. So now, after all these years, when he's become an established painter, not only in India but worldwide, and he says that everything I am today, I owe this debt, I owe this to the color black, the charcoal that made me this prolific painter that I am. I drew as realistically as I could. I was influenced and inspired by a set of pencil drawings I found in a trunk. So he says, whatever objects were available near me, I tried to draw them as realistically as 3D as possible. And one day, in a trunk, in a box, I found some pencil made drawings and I loved them and I was deeply influenced and also inspired by those paintings, by those sketchings. My mother, Himalaya Bai, told me they were by Uncle Jawahar, her brother. Uncle died at the age of 25. I'd never met him, but people think and I believe I am his reincarnation. I am fulfilling his life. So he says when he asked his mother who the drawings belonged to, his mother Himalaya Bai told him that they belonged to her brother, that is Venkat's uncle Jawahar. Uncle was very young when he died. He was just 25 years old. And so Venkat had never met him. But people, that is the family members of Venkat, believe, looking at Venkat, Venkat looks very similar to his uncle Jawahar. So a lot of people in the family say that Venkat is like a rebirth of his uncle Jawahar. In many ways, he's quite similar to his late uncle. And even Venkat himself believes this too. He says it's like I am fulfilling the purpose of his life, which was to become a painter. Jawaharlal Uke drew everyday objects and scenes with a touching realism. Jawaharlal Uke is the complete name of Venkat's uncle, and he also, just like Venkat, drew things that he saw around him with a touching realism. So his drawing of the everyday objects were very realistic. Like it was hard to tell whether it's a drawing or an actual object. I looked for these drawings on a visit to Sijhora many years ago, but mother told me they had been lost or destroyed when they pulled down our old house to build a new one. So he says, back when I was visiting Sijhora, I tried to find these drawings again many years ago, but his mother told him that the drawings were probably lost or destroyed while the house was being reconstructed. When father sought to put me in school, the principal wasn't sure I was old enough. Age was determined by a child's ability to touch his left ear by taking his right hand over his head. So he recalls another funny and incident from his childhood, and he sarcastically tells us, as you can see in the picture as well, that when he grew old enough, his father thought of getting him admitted to a school, and the principal looked at him and wanted to make sure that whether he was old enough to be given admission in the school. So at that time, the way to determine the appropriate age of the child was by telling the child to try to touch his left ear by taking his right hand over the head, as you can see in the picture, the same way the Venkat is trying to do. I understood, but I held my ear the easy way. And the principal laughed. Now he understood what he was supposed to do and how he was supposed to do. Yet he did it the wrong way. He did it the easy way. As you can see in the picture, the bottom hand, he is doing it in the easy way, just taking the right hand and holding the left ear as any other person would do. So the teacher understood that he was clever and he was smart enough, and the principal just laughed it off. He saw I was smart, but to be safe, changed my date of birth from 2nd December 1970 to 28th October 1970. Now, the teacher understood that yes, he was smart enough and big enough to be given the admission, but just to be safe, his date of birth, which was actually 2 December 1970, in the records was mentioned as 28th October 1970, which made him almost a month and a half older and thus eligible. So, you know how in schools they have a certain criteria, certain set criteria that you need to be that many years old before a particular date. So, for that reason, his date of birth, which was actually something else, was changed to a little bit older just to make him older. And he says, I have two birthdays now. So, in reality, he only has one birthday now, but as per the school documents, he has two birthdays now. Now, he recalls his experience of with Jangad, that was his uncle, and he has been the most influential person in Venkat's life, as he was the first person who actually taught Venkat about drawing, painting, and the art of learning the art. When father left me with Uncle Jangad, I did not know what was expected of me. Jangad then had two assistants, Daddi Singh Urveti and Labda Sumer Singh Khusram, both a few years older than him. Daddi and Labda used to rag me in my early days. What are your roots? They'd ask. I did not understand the question then, but said, my roots are with me. Today, I find them everywhere. My roots. So, when his father left Venkat with Uncle Jangad, now Venkat was confused. He did not know what Uncle Jangad expected of him, what he thought that Venkat knew or not. At that time, Jangad had two assistants with him. First is Daddi Singh Urveti, and the second person is Sumer Singh Khusram, whose nickname was Labda. Both the assistants were a bit older than Venkat, age wise. Both of them used to rag me. They ragged him, basically means they bullied him, and they asked him, "What are your roots?" Their question actually meant about they were questioning his caste, they were questioning what background had he come from, what are his roots. Now, since Venkat was small and young, he did not really understand the question, but he used to reply that my roots are with me. He did not understand the context of the question and just replied whatever he understood. But now that he's an adult and he actually understands the question, and he says, "Today I find my roots everywhere. Today I find that the signs of my community, I can see them all over the world, not just in my art, not just in my own community, but everywhere around me that I see, I find my roots. I find my community being represented through my art." So he says that Daddi and Labda were not really interested into putting their own creativity ahead, and Jangad drew a painting, and he told them to fill dots and lines within the patterns as set by him. So, just like we do it with the smaller children, with younger children, we give them an outline of a drawing and tell them to color inside. But when Venkat's turn came, he did not just fill the dots and lines, rather drew his own patterns, and those patterns looked so realistic, just like the cracked land, cracked earth, the way earth actually looks after it soaks up the water. And looking at that technique, looking at the beautiful and realistic art, Jangad was impressed by Venkat. Now, he tells us about the teaching style of Jangad, and this is a very important point because most of the questions are asked from this topic. How did Jangad teach? I'm reminded of the stories Anand told me of how some Hindustani musicians teach. For years, a master would make a disciple do all the kinds of household drudgery and teach her how to grasp the perfect sa, shadjam, the primal note. If they want to indulge you, perhaps ga, another note. Then, just as the pupil wonders what is it she has really learnt, unbeknownst to herself, she can sing many ragas. So, here he mentions how Jangar's style was very unique. He says that once Anand told me how some ancient Hindustani musicians teach. So, if you look at some movies from the older times, you would see that the music in Hindustani households was not taught the way it is now. Like, if you go to learn music, they will not just start teaching you all the notes and everything. For many years, first of all, the disciple, that is the student, was made to do all the household chores, that is the boring, the hard works of the daily chores of life, like washing, cleaning, cooking, all these things. And for much longer time, only a single note sa, that is the first note of the Indian music, shadjam, was taught. And for a longer period of time, the disciple worked on making his first note perfect. Or perhaps, if the master got impressed, he would indulge the student in the second note, that is ga. Then, just as the student wonders what he or she has really learned, the child would think that, "Oh, what am I learning? I'm just doing all the household chores and I've only learned a couple of notes." The child won't even realize, and within a period of time, would master multiple ragas, unbeknownst to herself, that without even knowing, the student would learn many ragas. So, Jangat's technique was quite similar. When a newbie arrived, the new apprentice had to work the silbatta, a flat grinding stone and pestle, and grind about 2 kilos of masala, red chilies, coriander seeds, cloves, cinnamon, chopped onion, garlic, and ginger into a consistent paste. This was the first lesson. So, newbie basically means a newcomer, a new student. Whenever any new student came to Jangad, the first task, the first lesson that was given to the new apprentice, the new trainee who had come to learn, was to work with the silbatta. which I'm sure if you're Indian you must be aware of. It is a very common tool used in most of the households. There's a flat pestle and there's a short grinding stone with the help of which we grind chutneys or dips or chilies or any kind of masala. So Janwar would give the similar task. He would give the child 2 kilos of masala. That is, he would give red chili, coriander seeds, cloves, cinnamon, and some onion, garlic, and ginger, and would tell the child to firmly grind all of these things and make a very fine, consistent paste. Now, if the student was able to do that perfectly, only then would the next lesson begin. And while the student made masala, Jangat sat monitoring from a distance. If you can't grind masala well, how can you hold a brush and paint? He showered abuse on those who did not get it right. So, the newbie, the apprentice, the new trainee, if the person was not able to grind the masala properly, Jangad would scold them and shout that if you're not able to have your grip, your firm grip on the stone, the grinding stone and pestle, how will you have a grip on brush and paint? So the entire motive of making the child grind the masalas was not to learn the art, but to have a firm grip of your hand on things. Because as a painter, it's very important to have a really firm grip on your hand when you make the strokes from the brushes. Jangar often broke into song, asking me to sing along. Our karma songs, the Dariya, folk songs, even bhajans. He played the flute, tabla, mandal, a kind of drum, harmonium. He taught us to live. Art just came along. So, very often while teaching them the painting, Jangar began singing songs. And sometimes he would even ask Venkat to sing along with him. Sometimes karma songs or the folk songs, that is the traditional songs, the Dariya, sometimes even the bhajans of Lord. Apart from being a painter and an artist, he was also fluent in playing flute, tabla, a kind of drum that is mandal, and harmonium. So Jangat just did not just teach them to draw or sketch or paint or play instrument. He actually taught them how to live life, how to enjoy and find rhythm and art in every single thing that is there around you. And art just came along. So we did not. They said that we did not really learn the art as in art itself. We learned how to live, and in that process, the art just came naturally to us. And that is how Venkat owes a big part of his life to Jangar for not just teaching him the art of painting and sketching, but the art of life as well.